Welcome to the Forging Honor podcast. I'm Jonathan George.
And I'm Benjamin Jones. Here at Forging Honor, we explore what it means to live as Christian men. Along the way, we'll be doing challenges, building habits and character through action.
It is time for a new Forging Honor challenge. We are on to, I think, season 7 of Forging Honor already. It's flying by, but season 7 here, we're on to a new challenge. As a reminder, challenges last for 6 weeks. That's a total of 42 days. They are simple, daily tasks to grow us as men. And the current challenge, the new challenge, is to read or write something for at least 15 minutes every day. The focus of this challenge, the goal is to increase the habit of a life of learning. We'll have some fun guests on to talk about this. But before we get to that, Banjo, how do you feel about this? Are you ready? Are you excited? Or not? I mean, you don't have to be, I guess. Though you are a co-host, so
I am a co-host.
Some level of buy-in here.
Yes, I am a co-host. I am excited. It's seasonally, it's an appropriate time for this challenge to come out. It is late August now when we're recording and releasing the episode, and it's very shortly time for me to go back to school and to start teaching again. And so it feels very appropriate to take some time this month to make sure that I'm still in the process, that we're still in the process of learning. I think it's also a really nice transition from our previous episode. We try to make them nice, smooth transitions. With the previous season where we're talking about technology and kind of the tools we use and how do we use those tools. And I think it is, it's a temptation to just like, to simplify, which is good. But in simplifying, it's like really easy to just cut and to cut and maybe not think about what are we replacing that time with? What are we doing proactively? And so I think this taking the 15 minutes of time to, maybe make sure our phone is away and replace that with some really deliberate time for self-learning and for some humility, I think it's going to be really good. How are you feeling about this new launch?
I'm very excited. Having already filled some of that time, as you say, filled some of that time that I haven't been on my smartphone with some quality reading. I'm excited to continue that and explore some avenues. I will say for the listener that we're not saying that you have to read some sort of educational material. We are talking about a life of learning. That's kind of the theme of this season, especially as young men who oftentimes, we've just come out of college or high school and we've been reading a lot and we're kind of sick of it for whatever reason. We haven't had time for personal reading. Part of the goal of this is to establish early on a lifetime pursuit of further learning. Now, I think we can learn a lot, not just from educational materials out there, but I think there are great works of fiction, the classics, some excellent works from modernity as well. And then onto the present day, I think that we can really learn from. So we're not saying like, oh, you need to sit and study, I don't know, French or something. Like, I'm not saying that. We're saying make a habit of studying the thoughts and the minds of those that came before us. Do you think that's a fair way of putting it, Banjo?
Yeah. I mean, we're not saying like everybody's got to go crack the Rosetta Stone or anything like that.
Right.
Or not even. I think one thing that's a good qualifier here is this isn't a challenge about learning to be right all the time. I was struck by this. I was watching just a funny snippet video today about just like a joke about the guy who always has to be right. And it was a very funny video. If I had the link, I would put it up here. But this being a auditory medium, the YouTube video maybe does not carry over as well. In any event, it was a good reminder that there's like, it's really easy to always want to be right, and for learning to be this place where it's like, well, I'm right, like because I know all the answers and I have spent all this time studying, and so I know everything there is to know about this topic. That's easy for me to do, especially with like movies and sports, which anyone who knows me knows that I sound like I know a lot more than I actually do. I know very little, if I'm being honest. So I think this is a challenge that's very very much aimed at growing our humility and our our knowledge more than our hubris and our arsenal, so to speak. I mean, there is some element of wanting to be well equipped and wanting to go into conversations well armed, but I think humility and knowledge is going to be an important element for me to think about in this challenge. How about you? Are there any elements you're particularly excited about, looking forward to?
I'm excited just on a purely time note to be able to say I'm doing a challenge right now, so I have to go read. I'm excited to be able to do that. But yeah, on a broader level, I think there's a lot of literature that I read or was supposed to read in high school and college that I either did not read at all or did not read very deeply. So there's kind of a short list gathered there of actually a lot of fiction that I'm excited to delve into. So on that note, I thought it'd be fun to, before we jump into the challenge, go ahead and start a little segment that might continue for the duration of this challenge. But just review, what have we been reading in the last week? So I have a few books, but Banjo, if you want to jump in, I might be catching you off guard here, but what books have you read in the last week?
Well, I assembled my list very quickly, and it's pretty haphazard. Some of the books I've been going to my local library recently, which has been actually a lot of fun. I've been to a library in a while, and so I actually just dropped off yesterday some books that I read. The main one being Toni Morrison's Beloved, a Southern Gothic novel. I think it's fair to call it that, which is very good. And I didn't understand it, and I wish I was back in school so that I could have a professor who could walk me through it. So I might be doing some more research on that one. So that was kind of more my meaty, serious literary reading. But my tendency as a reader is to always kind of go super super highbrow and read the most difficult literature that I can get my hands on. I'm a little bit masochistic that way. And so I sometimes forget that reading is supposed to be fun. And one of the things I've been working on, kind of relearning and reteaching myself the last few weeks is how does like fun literature work? How does a piece of literature work that is continually engaging you? Maybe not on the level of the classics or on like the deepest themes, but maybe more on some of those more visceral levels, maybe on some of those just like this is fun to read levels. So I've been reading some Stephen King. I've been reading his short story collection, Night Shift, which was very fun, definitely worth checking out. And then today I just started reading, and I got about halfway through his book Misery, which has been delightfully horrifying. So that's been very exciting. I've also been dipping into, this is the last one I'll mention, because this is one I really highly recommend if anybody's interested in writing or on wanting to know how fiction and literature works. Check out the book A Swim in a Pond in the Rain by George Saunders. And he basically gives a masterclass in 4 Russian writers and about 7 of their stories, their short stories. And he just kind of breaks down in each one why they work, what are the kind of the physics of the story, what is it that keeps its momentum going, and how does it pull the reader in and create a great resonance in its ending. So that's a book, Swim in a Pond in the Rain. Highly recommend if you want to learn something kind of new about short stories and fiction, and how those things work. Also on that note, How to Write a Sentence and How to Read One by Stanley Fish is also excellent in that category. But that's for another time. How about you? What's on your plate? What are you digging into?
So I'm impressed by your list, and I've never read any of the ones you just mentioned, so I now have more to add to my list, and I'm excited about that.
Well, this was my first time with all of them, so.
Oh, good stuff. So for me, I have finished 2 works this week. I read for the first time H.P. Lovecraft, his At the Mountains of Madness, which is a novella, not quite a short story, not quite a novel. That was quite fun, quite entertaining. I'd never read any Lovecraft before, so very interesting.
I just started listening to that on audio today.
Oh yeah. It's a fascinating story, I think.
Yeah, lots of fun.
I like the way it's told. And then I also read for the first time just over the weekend, All Quiet on the Western Front. I know I've been assigned this before, and I didn't read it, so I read it this time. I really enjoyed it.
Isn't that great?
It's a great story. Tough to get through it in portions, but wonderful.
Devastating read.
Yes, I hesitate to call it fiction just because of how well it's written. But at any rate, so those are the two primary books that I have completed. I have a couple others I'm working through, but hopefully I'll finish them in the next week, so I can talk about them next week once I finish them. So exciting stuff. All right, it is time for us to get on and get into the challenge.
Yeah, why waste time talking when we can do? Though I will ask, are there any books that you're or any things that you're like, I want to try and learn this while I have the time? Are there any things that you're really like, I have this time to learn, so I'm going to focus in on this area?
Yeah, I do. I have a book on AI that I am excited to get into, much more technical. I've been thinking about, with all the AI stuff, it's a hot topic, always dangerous to just jump in on a buzzword thing. But there are questions to be answered. So I want to learn about that. I think the other thing I'm actually excited to do is to put into practice and learn how to write a little better. So by that, I mean some of the journaling that I've done in the past could have been better. And I want to take that 15 minutes for some writing opportunities as well.
Nice.
Over the next 6 weeks of this challenge. So good stuff.
This has been the Forging Honor podcast. Music and production is by Elliot George. For more information about what we do or to learn how to get involved, visit our website at forginghonor.com. There you'll find information about our community, the Forge, and how to join other young men seeking to glorify God in thought, word, and deed. You'll also find blog articles, book recommendations, and more ways to grow as a Christian man.
If you enjoyed the show, please tell a friend or family member about Forging Honor. We would also appreciate it if you would take a moment to like and subscribe. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, a rating and review only takes a moment, and it goes a long way towards growing the Forging Honor community.
Thanks for taking the time with us today. We hope you'll take up the work alongside us and join us in the task of Forging Honor. We'll see you next time.